My best friend started dating my ex-husband. I found out when I least expected it, and it felt like a punch to the chest. The woman I trusted with my deepest secrets and who I thought would stand by me no matter what was now with the man I had shared my life with for years. It was a betrayal so deep, it shook me to my core. Then, after all that, she came back to me asking for forgiveness. She said, "I know I messed up. Can you forgive me?" But she had no idea I was ready to show her what happens when you betray a friendship like that, ready to take control of the situation and reclaim my power. What happened next shocked her in ways she never expected. This is my story of betrayal, strength, and the revenge that changed everything. Before the storm of betrayal hit, my life with Maya felt like the kind of friendship most people only dream of. We met in college, drawn together by a shared love of art and late-night conversations about everything from our hopes to our fears. Over the years, our bond grew stronger, woven from trust and countless moments of laughter, tears, and unwavering support. Maya wasn't just my best friend. She was my sister by choice. We celebrated each other's wins, comforted one another through heartbreaks, and dreamed of futures where nothing could come between us. I never imagined that she would become the source of one of the deepest wounds I would ever endure. My marriage to Ethan had been a roller coaster. We met young, full of dreams and promises. For years, we navigated life's challenges side by side, building a home, facing job uncertainties, and planning for a family. But somewhere along the way, the foundation cracked. Misunderstandings turned into arguments. Distance grew where there once was closeness. Eventually, we decided to part ways, agreeing it was better to walk separate paths than continue down a road filled with resentment. Though painful, I was determined to move on with grace and without bitterness. I focused on healing, rebuilding my self-worth, and embracing the new chapter of my life. Throughout this time, Maya was my constant. She listened patiently as I poured out my fears and frustrations, reminding me of my strength when I couldn't see it myself. She was my rock, and I believed we were inseparable, ready to face life's challenges together. My sister Rachel and my dad George were also pillars of support, grounding me when emotions threatened to overwhelm. Rachel would often say, "You're stronger than you realize. This is just one chapter, not the whole book." Those words kept me going. But the fragile peace shattered the day I discovered Maya and Ethan were seeing each other. It wasn't a rumor or a vague suspicion, it was real. The realization hit me during a casual conversation with a mutual friend who mentioned seeing them together. At first, I refused to believe it. How could Maya, the one person I trusted most, cross that line? How could Ethan, the man I once loved, betray me so completely? The shock was overwhelming, a mix of disbelief, anger, and heartbreak swirling inside me. I confronted Maya, hoping for honesty, for an explanation, or at least some acknowledgement of the pain she had caused. Instead, she deflected, denied, and finally admitted the truth with a shaky apology. "I know I messed up," she said, eyes avoiding mine, "but it just happened. I didn't mean to hurt you." Those words felt hollow, barely scratching the surface of the betrayal. It wasn't just the act itself, it was the secrecy, the broken trust, and the feeling of being replaced by someone I had once considered family. The emotional toll was immense. Every shared memory with Maya now felt tainted, every message a reminder of what was lost. Our mutual friends became divided, some unsure of how to navigate the awkwardness, others choosing sides. I found myself isolated in a sea of complicated feelings, struggling to reconcile the friend I knew with the woman who had betrayed me. Despite the pain, I refused to let this betrayal define me. I leaned heavily on Rachel and George, whose steady presence reminded me that my worth wasn't tied to others' actions. Rachel often reminded me, "You deserve loyalty and respect. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." My father's quiet wisdom grounded me during moments of doubt, helping me focus on healing rather than revenge. Emotionally fragile yet fiercely determined, I began the slow process of rebuilding. I focused on my career, diving into my work with renewed passion. I nurtured other friendships, seeking connections that uplifted rather than tore down. I made a conscious decision to reclaim my narrative, not as a victim, but as a survivor with a story still being written. Looking back, I realized the betrayal was a catalyst, a painful, unexpected force that pushed me to find strength I didn't know I had. It forced me to redefine what friendship means, to understand boundaries, and to prioritize my own well-being. Most importantly, it taught me that even when those closest to us hurt us the most, we have the power to choose how we respond and what comes next. The moment I discovered that Maya had started dating Ethan, my ex-husband, everything inside me shattered. It wasn't just the shock of their relationship, it was the betrayal from two of the people I trusted most in the world. The woman who was like a sister to me, who had been by my side through every high and low, had crossed a line I never thought possible. And Ethan, the man I had shared so many years and memories with, had chosen to be with her. I felt blindsided, heartbroken, and utterly alone. At first, I struggled to make sense of it all. How could Maya do this? Had she planned it all along? I replayed every conversation, every moment we shared, searching for signs I had missed. The feeling of betrayal settled deep within me, growing heavier with each passing day. I confronted Maya, hoping for an explanation, a sliver of remorse, or at least honesty, but her responses only added salt to the wound. She seemed defensive, sometimes dismissive, often apologetic, but without true accountability. I never meant for this to happen, she told me, but her words rang hollow. The damage was done. Our conversations became tense, charged with emotion. Maya tried to reach out, asking for forgiveness, but I wasn't ready. Not then, not ever. It wasn't just about Ethan. It was about the trust that had been broken, the friendship that had been shattered. I wrestled with feelings of anger, sadness, and confusion. The betrayal wasn't just an isolated act. It shook the foundation of my support system. Friends who once rallied around me now seemed hesitant, unsure how to navigate the fractured relationships. Social circles became a minefield. Mutual friends were torn, some choosing sides, others stepping back to avoid the drama altogether. Family gatherings grew awkward, strained by unspoken tensions. Even simple messages or phone calls felt loaded with meaning and doubt. I felt like an outsider in what used to be my community, as if the betrayal had cast a shadow over everything and everyone I cared about. Emotionally, the fallout was overwhelming. I cried in private, buried beneath layers of hurt I wasn't sure I could unravel. Sleep became elusive as memories and what-ifs flooded my mind. I questioned my judgment, wondering if I had been naive or blind to Maya's true feelings. The very idea that someone I loved could cause such pain shook my belief in loyalty and friendship. Yet, amidst the turmoil, there was a flicker of resolve. I refused to let this betrayal define me. I reminded myself that pain was a part of life, but how I responded to it would shape my future. I began to lean heavily on my sister Rachel and my father George, whose unwavering support became my anchor. Rachel's blunt honesty pushed me to face the truth head-on, while George's calm wisdom reminded me to stay grounded and patient. I also sought professional help, realizing that navigating such deep emotional wounds required more than just time and willpower. Therapy became a safe space to process the betrayal, confront my feelings, and rebuild my sense of self. It wasn't easy. There were moments of anger and despair, but gradually I started to reclaim my voice and confidence. At the same time, I made a conscious choice to set boundaries. I stopped responding to Maya's attempts to mend fences that felt insincere. I limited contact with Ethan, refusing to let their relationship disrupt my healing process further. I focused on myself, on regaining control over my emotions and my life. Despite the hurt, I held on to hope, not necessarily that Maya and I would reconcile, but that I could emerge from this experience stronger and wiser. I began to channel my energy into self-care and personal growth. I reconnected with friends who truly supported me, explored new hobbies, and dedicated myself to my career. Throughout this ordeal, I learned profound lessons about trust, resilience, and self-respect. I discovered that betrayal, while devastating, does not have to be the end of your story. It can be a catalyst for transformation, pushing you to set healthier boundaries and prioritize your well-being. Looking back, the conflict with Maya and Ethan was one of the most painful chapters of my life, but it was also the beginning of a journey toward empowerment. It forced me to confront uncomfortable truths, to stand firm in my values, and to rebuild my life on my own terms. The emotional battle was fierce and raw, but it paved the way for clarity and strength. I realized that forgiveness is a choice, one I wasn't ready to make, and perhaps never would for Maya. What mattered most was reclaiming my dignity and finding peace within myself. After the shock and heartbreak settled, I knew that letting anger or bitterness consume me wouldn't help me heal or reclaim my life. I had to make a conscious decision to take control of the situation and protect myself emotionally and mentally. It wasn't about revenge or spite, but about reclaiming my power and dignity after being betrayed by the two people I once trusted the most. That decision marked a turning point, a shift from feeling powerless to actively shaping my future. The first step was setting clear boundaries with both Maya and Ethan. I told them I needed space and refused to engage in any conversations that revolved around their relationship or attempts at reconciliation. It was difficult because part of me still yearned for the friendship I once had with Maya, but I knew that moving forward required emotional distance. I stopped responding to her messages asking for forgiveness and decided not to attend social events where they might both be present. With Ethan, I kept interactions strictly civil and minimal, focusing on closure rather than conflict. At the same time, I turned inward and leaned heavily on the support of my sister, Rachel, and my father, George. Rachel was relentless in reminding me of my worth and strength. She encouraged me to focus on myself rather than on those who hurt me. "You don't owe anyone an apology for standing up for yourself," she said, and that became my mantra. My father, with his calm wisdom, reminded me that life's challenges often teach us who we really are. Their unwavering support was a lifeline in the darkest moments. I also sought professional help. Therapy became a safe space where I could unravel my emotions without judgment. It helped me process feelings of betrayal, grief, and anger, while also building tools for resilience and self-care. Through therapy, I learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing the hurt. It means freeing myself from the burden of resentment. While I wasn't ready to forgive Maya, I understood the importance of releasing the toxic emotions that held me back. Alongside emotional healing, I focused on rebuilding my life practically and personally. I poured my energy into my work as a graphic designer, taking on new projects that reignited my passion and creativity. Immersing myself in my career gave me a renewed sense of purpose and accomplishment. I also reconnected with friends who had proven their loyalty and kindness, creating a support network that uplifted me rather than drained me. Recognizing that personal growth was essential, I explored new hobbies and experiences. I took up yoga and meditation, which helped me cultivate mindfulness and calm amid chaos. I traveled to places I had always wanted to visit, allowing myself moments of joy and freedom that had felt out of reach during the turmoil. These experiences reminded me that life is vast and full of possibilities beyond pain. As I gained clarity and strength, I also started to document my journey, not as a way to dwell on the past, but to reflect on how far I had come. Writing became therapeutic, a way to articulate my feelings and celebrate my resilience. Sharing parts of my story with trusted friends brought a sense of connection and validation, reinforcing that I was not alone. I planned my response carefully, refusing to be manipulated or drawn into drama. When the time felt right, I decided to confront the situation on my terms, not with anger, but with calm confidence. I wanted Maya and Ethan to see that I was no longer the hurt, betrayed woman they expected. I was someone who had stood up for herself, reclaimed her narrative, and moved forward stronger. Throughout this process, I discovered new depths of self-respect and empowerment. I learned to prioritize my well-being and to recognize when relationships, no matter how close, were toxic or harmful. I embraced the truth that loyalty is earned, not assumed, and that sometimes the hardest battles are the ones fought within. This turning point wasn't easy. It required vulnerability, courage, and patience. But it was also the foundation for the healing and growth that followed. I realized that revenge doesn't have to mean tearing others down. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply rising above and reclaiming your life with grace. My journey from betrayal to empowerment reshaped how I saw myself and my future. It taught me that while others can hurt us deeply, they cannot define our worth or our path forward unless we let them. I became determined to live authentically, surrounded by people who respect and support me. The decision to take control, set boundaries, and focus on healing was the most important choice I made after the betrayal. It marked the moment I stopped being a victim and started being the author of my own story, a story of resilience, strength, and hope. The moment of truth came sooner than Maya expected. After months of silent tension, emotional distance, and careful preparation on my part, I decided it was time to confront the situation in a way that would leave no doubt about where I stood. I wasn't going to lash out in anger or beg for respect. I wanted to demonstrate my strength and resolve through calm, clear action. The opportunity came during a small gathering of friends, some mutual acquaintances, and people who had witnessed the unraveling of our once tight friendship. It was the perfect stage for me to tell my story on my own terms. I invited a few close friends and acquaintances to a casual get-together at my apartment. It was warm and inviting, with soft lighting and the familiar scent of fresh coffee. The atmosphere was relaxed, but I felt a quiet fire burning inside. I wanted to reclaim my narrative, not just for myself, but for everyone who had witnessed the betrayal and the fallout. I wasn't there to attack Maya or Ethan, but to share my truth with honesty and dignity. As the evening progressed, I found the right moment to speak. I didn't shout or accuse. I spoke with a measured tone, letting my words carry the weight of experience rather than emotion. I told the story of my marriage, the heartbreak of divorce, and the shock of discovering that my best friend had started dating my ex-husband so soon after. I described the pain of betrayal, the struggle to maintain my composure, and the steps I took to reclaim my life and my self-worth. I shared how I had set boundaries, sought support, and refused to let bitterness consume me. I explained that my journey wasn't about revenge, it was about healing, growth, and empowerment. The room was silent as I spoke, the gravity of the situation settling over everyone. I could see in their eyes the understanding and respect I had earned through my resilience. What shocked Maya the most was not just my story, but the strength and calmness with which I told it. She had expected me to be broken, angry, or desperate. Instead, she saw a woman who had faced betrayal head-on and refused to be defined by it. I showed that I was no longer the person who had been blindsided and hurt. I was someone who had reclaimed her power and refused to be a victim. In that moment, I made it clear that forgiveness wasn't something I was ready to give lightly. Trust, once broken, must be rebuilt with honesty and respect, things Maya had shown little of. I told her and the room that while I was open to healing and moving forward, it would be on my terms and with clear boundaries. I wasn't going to allow the past to repeat itself or let anyone undermine my worth. The reaction was mixed. Some people expressed sympathy and admiration for my courage. Others felt the weight of the betrayal and the complexity of friendships tested by romantic entanglements. Maya's silence spoke volumes. She was stunned not just by my words, but by the unwavering confidence I projected. For once, the person who had caused so much pain was confronted not by anger, but by strength. After the gathering, Maya tried to reach out again, this time with more genuine remorse and a plea for understanding. But I stood firm. I listened, acknowledged her apology, but reiterated that my healing was my priority. I was no longer interested in empty promises or half-hearted attempts at reconciliation. This climax wasn't about punishing Maya. It was about showing her the consequences of her actions through my own empowerment. I demonstrated that betrayal might shake us, but it doesn't have to break us. By standing tall, setting boundaries, and owning my story, I shifted the power dynamic. Maya realized that I was no longer the easy target she had hoped for. The experience also taught me the value of speaking my truth openly and honestly. Sometimes silence allows pain and resentment to fester, but sharing my story, calmly and confidently, became an act of healing, a way to reclaim control and inspire others facing similar betrayals. Ultimately, the climax of this story was not a dramatic showdown, but a powerful affirmation of self-worth. It marked the turning point where I stopped being defined by the betrayal and began defining my future. It was a moment of catharsis and clarity, where strength replaced hurt and resilience overcame betrayal. Walking away from that night, I felt lighter, freer, and more determined than ever. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be without challenges, but I was ready to face them with the same courage and grace. The revenge I sought wasn't about hurting others. It was about healing myself and moving forward with dignity. That night changed everything. It proved to Maya, to our circle, and most importantly to myself, that I was stronger than the pain inflicted and ready to live life on my own terms. It was the real victory, the moment I reclaimed my power and my peace. After that defining night, life slowly began to settle into a new rhythm, one shaped by healing, growth, and renewed self-respect. The confrontation was not the end of the story, but it marked a powerful turning point for me. It was the moment I reclaimed my voice and refused to let betrayal dictate my future. While the wounds Maya's actions left would take time to fully heal, I knew I had taken the first steps toward reclaiming my happiness and peace. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding not just my life, but my emotional strength. The support of my sister Rachel and my father George remained invaluable. Their steady presence reminded me that I was not alone and that my worth was not tied to others' choices. Rachel often reminded me, "You are defined by your strength, not by their actions." Those words became a guiding light when self-doubt crept in. I embraced the process of self-care with intention. I prioritized my mental health, continuing therapy to work through the complex feelings of grief, anger, and loss. Therapy gave me tools to set healthy boundaries, manage my emotions, and cultivate compassion, not just for others, but importantly, for myself. I learned that forgiveness, if it ever came, would be a gift for my own peace, not a concession to those who had hurt me. Rebuilding my social circle was another crucial part of the healing. I rekindled friendships that uplifted me and distanced myself from those who perpetuated negativity or took sides without understanding. This process was painful but necessary. It taught me that true friendship is rooted in respect, trust, and mutual care, and that sometimes letting go is the kindest act toward oneself. On a personal level, I redirected my energy into my passions and goals. I immersed myself in my work as a graphic designer, taking on projects that challenged and excited me. The sense of accomplishment and creative fulfillment was a balm to my spirit. I also explored new hobbies, yoga, hiking, and painting, that helped me reconnect with my body and mind, grounding me in the present and fostering resilience. The experience reshaped how I viewed relationships. I realized that loyalty is earned through actions, not assumed because of history. I became more cautious with whom I trusted, but also more open to forming authentic connections. I surrounded myself with people who celebrated my growth rather than held me back. This new awareness empowered me to create a support system that reflected my values and nurtured my well-being. Family dynamics remained complex. While my relationship with Maya remained distant and cautious, I chose to focus on nurturing bonds with family members who stood by me, especially Rachel and George. Their unwavering support reinforced my belief that family is not just about blood, but about those who choose to love and respect you unconditionally. Over time, I found peace in accepting that some relationships may never fully heal, and that was okay. My priority became my own happiness and emotional safety. Reflecting on the entire journey, I understood that betrayal was a painful but powerful catalyst for growth. It forced me to confront uncomfortable truths about trust, boundaries, and self-worth. Most importantly, it taught me that strength often emerges from vulnerability, that standing up for yourself is an act of courage that leads to profound transformation. I also recognized the importance of telling my story, not to dwell on the past, but to inspire others who might be facing similar betrayals. Sharing my experience with close friends and support groups helped me process my feelings and feel less isolated. It reminded me that healing is a collective journey, and vulnerability can be a source of connection and empowerment. Looking ahead, I embraced a vision for my life grounded in self-respect and hope. I committed to living authentically, pursuing my dreams without fear, and cultivating relationships based on trust and mutual respect. The pain of betrayal no longer defined me. Instead, it became a chapter that revealed my resilience and shaped my path forward. Today, I feel stronger and more confident than ever. I've reclaimed my narrative and learned to protect my heart without closing it off. The wounds Maya left will always be a part of my story, but they no longer control it. Instead, they remind me of the power of resilience and the beauty of rising above pain. This journey was not easy, but it was transformative. It showed me that even when people we love hurt us deeply, we have the power to heal, grow, and create a life filled with joy and meaning. My story is one of betrayal, yes, but also one of triumph, self-discovery, and unwavering strength. In the end, the greatest revenge wasn't in hurting others. It was in loving myself enough to walk away stronger, wiser, and free. And that is the victory I carry with me every day.